Hi, I'm Frank Oden. I was a heavy smoker for 30 years. I tried to quit many times, and I failed all but one of those times, the last one, 17 years ago. Since then, I've given a lot of thought and a lot of study to what worked and what didn't, and in this video, I'm going to share with you 6 of the most common obstacles that smokers face when they're trying to quit. And that's the first one right there, trying to quit. Let me invite you to do a little experiment with me right now. Please try to raise your right hand. Go ahead. Okay, chances are you either decided not to play or else your hand is in the air right now. Either way, you failed at trying. You either raised it or you didn't. What does it look like to try and raise your hand? You act like you're going to, you're thinking about it, maybe talking about it, but meanwhile, you're not doing anything. How often have you said, I know I have, with a cigarette in your mouth, yeah, I'm trying to quit? That's not about quitting at all. That's about continuing to smoke while thinking about acting like you're pretending to quit. And that's what happens when a person doesn't feel ready to quit, or willing or able to quit, but they feel pressure to quit, even though they'd rather keep smoking. So, my first advice to all new clients is stop trying to quit. That's a big waste of time. It's always frustrating and it usually fails. Instead, let me show you how to do the right kind of thinking in advance so that you can make up your mind with absolute certainty to know for a fact that you are ready and you are willing and you are able to quit. Then it's easy to take decisive action. Once you know that you're 100% done with it forever, you don't have to go through that whole quitting problem. You just stop. Now, you've probably thought something along those lines yourself. In the past, you said, there's no point trying to quit right now because I'm not ready. Someday, when I'm ready, I'll be able to quit easily like Uncle Joe, who just up and quit one day. That'll be great then, but this isn't the right time for me to quit, not right now. The obstacle here, and this is the second one, is procrastination. You're waiting for something to happen that is not going to happen all by itself. It wasn't spontaneous for Uncle Joe either. It may have looked that way to you, and it may have been rapid and easy for Joe. But he went through a specific mental process that needs to happen before a dramatic change can occur. Let me show you how to create readiness, how to create willingness and ability. You need to make them happen yourself. You want to do a magic trick? Pull a rabbit out of a hat? First, you need to put a rabbit in the hat. The third obstacle is negativity. What's your expectation of how it's supposed to feel when you quit smoking? Quitting sucks, right? There's a multi-billion-dollar advertising campaign aimed at convincing you that not smoking is the hardest thing in the world. Or maybe you recall from your own previous experience that it was difficult for you in the past and you failed, and you've heard other people tell their failure stories, so you have a negative opinion of the whole thing. You might be ready to quit because you know you should, but if you're bringing negative expectations into the project, then you're lacking in the willingness department. Let me show you how to structure positive motivational approach, how to create what I call the big because. And that's about focusing on the benefits, on your true desires, on connecting to your natural preference for being a non-smoker, not beating yourself up about the health risks of smoking. And speaking of your previous experience, that's obstacle number 4. It's called learned helplessness. When you've tried to do something over and over but it never works, we humans tend to give up. I know that's not what our movie heroes do, but that's what real people do. Faced with a series of failures and lacking any coherent strategy for what else to do, we usually give up. We might externalize that problem and announce, well, that thing is impossible to do. Or we may internalize it and say, I'm not able to do that thing, or both. The reality is that neither of these statements is true. Quitting smoking doesn't have to be difficult, and any smoker can do it. But I can show you how to stop making self-critical judgments based on what you're calling failure, and look instead at feedback. What can you learn from your previous results? And what you'll learn is that every previous failure was based on some kind of ineffective strategy. That's obstacle number 5. If you didn't get the result you were looking for, it's not because you're unable or because it's impossible. It's because the methods you tried up to now simply don't work. A lot of my clients say and truly believe that they've tried everything, but nothing works. More often, they've tried the same or similar things over and over, and there are thousands of things that don't work. But there's only one thing that actually does work. Spoiler alert, it's cold turkey. Wait, don't bail on me now. I know you tried cold turkey before and it didn't work for you, but the effective strategy there requires more than just forcing yourself to not smoke. It's a two-part process. You do have to not smoke, but you also have to get your mind right about it. Perception is everything. Perception is reality, and language creates perception is reality. A smoker who is trying to quit says, I want to smoke, but I'm not allowed to. This language creates the perception of feeling punished and deprived. It's definitely not going to work. This is the reality of struggle and failure. The mindful non-smoker says, I could smoke anytime I truly wanted to, but I truly don't want to. I'm not being prevented from smoking. I'm choosing to become and remain a non-smoker for life, on purpose. This language creates the perception of choosing something that we want more than smoking. And the reality is that we never struggle when we're getting exactly what we want. But maybe the biggest obstacle that smokers face, just thinking about life as a non-smoker, is fear. Fear of what exactly? What is the worst thing that could possibly happen if you don't smoke any more cigarettes? Well, there's a whole range of irrational fears that smokers use, mostly to defend continued smoking. I'm afraid I won't be able to deal with the stress. I'll never get work breaks. My friends will abandon me. I'll have to give up coffee or alcohol. These are false fears, and they do need to be sorted out in advance of quitting. But the biggest one of all is fear of withdrawal and fear of cravings. Now, the fear of withdrawal, or nicotine fits, is based on concerns about physical addiction to nicotine, but I show my clients that chemical dependence on nicotine is not one of the big obstacles to quitting. I can prove that to you. You don't need to worry about that. You certainly don't need to medicate it. Cravings, on the other hand, can be very real, but they are not caused by physical addiction. Cravings are a cognitive and a behavioral problem, and I assure you there is a simple and a direct solution. And it's not about strength or willpower or intelligence or character. It's all about attitude and perception. I teach my clients simple mental techniques to banish the problems of craving, to convert that experience through non-judgmental acceptance into a harmless collection of simple thoughts and sensations. Mindfulness techniques are perfectly suited to that task, along with key ideas from cognitive behavioral therapy, neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and even Stoic philosophy. Instead of fearing your own weakness, let me show you how to leverage your own strengths and to take control of what amounts to a simple two-step process to achieve nicotine freedom. Step 1, we change our behaviors to create a desired result. Step 2, we change our perceptions to create a desired experience. This is the toolkit I've been building for the past 15 years, originally called HypnoSmoke and now the Mindful Non-Smoker. I've shared it with thousands of smokers, chewers, vapors, also THC users, even folks who are still hooked on nicotine gum and lozenges. I've conducted hundreds of live group seminars in Colorado and throughout the Rocky Mountain region. And now I'm presenting live online webinars for remote clients all across the country and around the world. Here are some of the important topics I cover in the webinar. How to stop without trying to quit. How to make yourself ready, willing, and able. Why you don't need willpower and what to use instead. How to make instant gratification work for you instead of against you. What to learn from your previous failures and how to get it right this time. How to banish cravings in 30 seconds or less. And much more, but most importantly, I'll show you how to overcome fears and negativity with simple mindfulness techniques. And you don't have to be an experienced meditator to become a mindful non-smoker. So come on in and let's talk. Bring your toughest questions, and I'll give you straight answers. You don't need pills or patches or products of any kind to quit smoking. You don't even need willpower. All you really have to change is your mind.